What are we gonna do now, Yogi?
Hey, boo boo. First, we're gonna get ourselves a picnic basket full of goodies. Then, we're gonna watch our favorite show. Hey, I'm talking here with Steve Rizzo.
That sounds like a wonderful idea, Yogi.
That's because I'm smarter than the average bear. How you doing, everybody? Steve Rizzo here. It's so good to be back, and welcome to Hey, I Am Talking Here. And the reason why I'm laughing is because Debbie, Bruce, and I kept talking, and I kept going, it's showtime, it's showtime, it's showtime. And everyone shut up all of a sudden. Anyway, it's good to be back. And as you know, this show is brought to you by Conversations with Bob, my wonderful book. And I have absolutely come to the realization that this book and my new presentation that I have now is called The Bob Factor is really the main reason why I was put on this planet. And Bruce, what can we put up a cover of the book? Maybe not. That's perfect. Okay, now get Bob out of the way and show. Oh, that's perfect. Nice image. Nice image. Anyway, we have a different show that Debbie and I were talking about. And we said, you know what? Because we kept talking about the power of no. And then we decided just to have a show that sometimes you just have to say no. And actually, it's the same thing as saying, I've had enough, and you have to go in another direction. And it might mean that you're being selfish, but it's not just saying no to other people. It's saying no to that negative part of yourself, the ego, the part that's trying to control you, as many of you know that I call the big mouth inside your head. So it's really the power of no. And I think if we could harness this and make it a part of who we are, I think life becomes a lot easier. And I think it's one of the main reasons why a lot of people don't get the respect that they deserve, because they don't know how to say no, because they put other people before themselves, thinking that they won't be accepted or acknowledged in some way. And this doesn't just happen in the family unit, it happens at work with coworkers. And I have learned, and it's the hard way sometimes, that saying no is probably many times one of the most empowering things that you can give yourself. It's a great gift. And there's just a way that you have to do it so it doesn't come on too strong. So, because you don't really want to hurt anybody. Although, no matter how you put it, there will be those who will be offended. So anyway, let's introduce the team. Let's bring up Bruce, who is my producer and director. And there he is. Thanks, man. Nice
Yeah.
smile. Appreciate it. And by the way, thanks for doing a scrupulous job on that video we did a few days ago. I'm getting wonderful compliments on the videotape that we did. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, we post it on YouTube. So if you want to send them out to special people, you can send it out to special people.
Oh, you put it on
this,
YouTube? Oh, that's right. You
yeah.
said you were going to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you're watching this and you want to see something behind the scenes,
yeah,
drop a note to Steve.
Oh, cool. Way cool. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
You'll get dozens of messages.
That's a beautiful thing. Hey, see, you do things for me that I don't even know you're doing. Unbelievable. Let's bring up Debbie, because I.
Oh yeah, actually, speaking of doing things for you that you don't know I'm doing, there's a podcast. You've got a weekly podcast that comes out every Tuesday.
Oh, tell them.
So all you got to do is scan one of these two codes if you're on Apple Podcasts, or if you got a Google phone, scan the Google Podcasts, or you can just go to your phone and say, like, "Hey Siri, play Steve Rizzo's podcast for me."
Wow, that's really cool. Thanks for doing it. I can't believe you're doing all this stuff. That is so cool. And what the cool thing is with Siri, if you want to skip that particular podcast, you just say, Siri, play another one. Yeah,
it's playing already.
Yeah. Wow, because you said it. That's right.
I said it.
I know. Sometimes Siri and Alexa doesn't shut the hell up. You could do it with Alexa too, folks.
Yep.
Sometimes I just like to hear myself talk, so I go, Alexa, play Steve Rizzo podcast, and Alexa goes, I'm really sick of listening to it. So anyway, hello, Lori Ficken. Miss you. We got to get together. You know that. Yes, I know. I know you know that I know. Let's bring up Debbie right now, because I haven't talked to her in a while, and I miss her. And here she is.
Hello. Hello, Bruce. Way to go. Doing all the stuff on YouTube and doing the QR codes, all of that. I'm here. I got nothing.
You've got.
Well, you
So-
did share this out to your group.
I
Yeah.
did.
And actually, speaking of which, you just got someone who just logged into
Oh,
your group.
Andrea. Hey, girl. Thank you for being here. It's awesome to see you here. You're going to love this show, Andrea. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good stuff.
Yes, you will. It's not bragging. It's just a fact. I'm just saying.
It's the truth.
I got an incredible team. What could I say? First, I
What
want to
can
show
I
everybody my T-shirt.
All
Sure.
right, Team Rizzo, lifetime member,
Yeah, don't
legend.
stand up too much.
I know. I said to Debbie, so Debbie said,
She didn't say that.
what's new? I said, well, I'm naked from the waist down. My opening line is going to be, now I'd like to show everybody something I'm really proud of. No.
Thank God it was just the T-shirt, the legend T-shirt.
Yeah, I know. That's very funny, actually.
Nice to meet you, Steve.
Excuse me?
Andrea says she's a friend, and oh my gosh, such a support for my new business too. So we appreciate
nice to meet you, Andrea. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
And so the subject matter of the show is what? What are we talking about today? What are we talking about
today?
What
are we talking about? No, we're not telling you.
That's what I was going to ask you. Sometimes you have to say no.
No.
And no, I'm not going to do it.
I'm not doing it.
We came up with that when we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. And I said, you got to text me that. That sounds like a title for a show. The Power of No could have been another title for it. But again, when we say no, we're not necessarily, it doesn't have to be no. Sometimes you got to say to yourself, enough. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it comes in many forms. Sometimes people are givers, as I know you are, and I am. And sometimes we give to the point, though, where you start losing a part of who you are. And it happens with, in marriages a lot, with children a lot of mothers and fathers do it, especially mothers, I believe, fall victim to that because you don't want to say no to your kids. But sometimes the most empowering thing you can do for your children is say, no, you have to do this yourself. I'm not going to do this for you anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it. And if you say it enough and you let them know why you're doing it, they do get it. But a lot of people have a tough time with it because I think they have defined themselves as that person that's always giving. Ooh. And when you take that definition of yourself away, some people feel they don't have anything else to hold on to but the giver part. But it's very liberating. It's very liberating.
It takes work. It takes work to learn how to. The first few I've talked to a lot of people about they've all been women, about how they're learning to say no. And it sounds silly to some people who are just, no, I'm not doing it. I don't have time. I can't or whatever. But there are so many people. And I would go so far to say that it's mostly women who do feel like they've got to be everything, do everything for everyone all the time. And the word no is foreign to them. And they just go ahead and say, okay, or whatever. But then that can bring in not only hardship for them, but also resentment because they're saying yes to things that they really don't have time for. And so then it just builds up in them when it's not the other person's fault for asking. If you really don't have time or you don't want to do it, you need to be able to say no. And the same thing with kids. I thought that was really good that you brought that up because so many times you get your kids out of their problems and then they don't know how to do it for themselves because you're always saying, yes, I'll help you.
Yep.
So that's great. That's great.
And that was a problem I had growing up because my mother always did everything. Even when I wanted to do it myself. No, I'll take care of that for you. I'll get this for you. I'll do that for you. And, you don't realize how damaging that is as you get older. And then all of a sudden you're inadequate as you're getting older and maybe even in your adult life, where there were things that you should have been doing on your own.
Yeah.
But because someone was doing it for you the whole time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, people think it's a very selfish thing to do. And actually it's being selfish could be one of the best things, most empowering things you could do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts with a no. I'm not going to do this anymore.
And so we got to change the verbiage on it though. then we can't say saying no is being selfish. And I know exactly what you mean. It's
Right.
like, be selfish once in a while, like
Yep.
think of yourself.
Yep.
But it's not really, I think the word selfish gets a bad rap because then you think you're into yourself,
Exactly.
narcissist, kind of person. But really, it's just, I'm going to be there for you when I can. And also, if it makes sense, because you're right. If your mom always made your food, da, 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 all the things, and then you get out on your own and you don't know how to boil water, how good is that for us?
Yeah,
For
exactly. Exactly. And yet what happens too is that mothers especially even more so years ago, I would say though, but they lose their identity when the
yeah,
kids leave, because now there's nothing for them to do because they're always doing for their children or their
yeah,
husband, and then you lose your identity and what's left?
yeah,
What are you gonna do then? Um, Also saying no is talking to, and we've had a program on this, a show on this, saying no to the big mouth inside your head, the ego, that
yeah.
negative part of you where you do the self curse talk when you're setting out to achieve a goal and everything is going the way that you want. Then all of a sudden you hit a wall and that self curse talk starts taking place. I
Oh,
knew this was going to happen. Every time I try to do something, it never works. In the middle of that, you have to say no to that.
that's
To
right.
that. If you don't, it'll create a totally different reality for yourself, and
I
it's
know.
becoming aware that you're doing it, and
Mm,
once you say no to it, it stops, and
that's
then you
right.
think of other alternatives on how to move forward without that big mouth controlling
Woo,
your life.
that's right. You got to say no to yourself too, people.
That's right.
No, I'm not going there with myself. The rumination about things like, oh, why did he or she say that? Why doesn't someone like me? Oh, maybe I should have invited so and so. Oh gosh, am I good enough for this? All of the things? Nah, 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 nah.
That's
Stop.
my Yeah,
No, just say no. Stop yourself from the insanity of what goes on like a circus inside your brain. And
yep.
I want to say, my sister's watching and she said, love you, sissy. Oh, I love you too.
I love you too, Victoria.
Yes. And then, Andrea says, no, it's teaching our kids how to take responsibility. Good point. And I just was thinking when you were talking, Steve, about with kids that if they watch you, because children are what they live, not what you tell them to do. If
Mhm.
they see you constantly saying yes when you really should be saying no, that's also showing them that you're afraid to say no, that you don't have that ability yet. You haven't honed into, how to honor yourself enough to know that I really am fitting this in. I'm not going to do anybody any good. It's not going to do me good. I'm wearing myself out and I won't really be able to do this task or be able to show up like I can or I
Yep,
could if I had time. And when they see you maxed out like that, that's kind of teaching them too, like, well, I got to say yes to everything.
yep, yeah.
So,
No, yeah, it's growing. It's growing pains, and sometimes being brutally honest with yourself is saying, "No, enough. I
yeah,
can't do this anymore." And I know I brought this up a few times, but when I decided to get divorced, it was 34 years of marriage. There was that voice inside me saying, "You're stifling your authentic self. There's a part of you that's not experiencing what you were put on this planet to do, and in order to do what you're supposed to do." And it wasn't making sense to me, but I felt it. I
yeah,
felt it with an incredible feeling. And once I said, "No, I can't do this anymore," meaning the marriage, as much as it hurt, I had to take that step into the unknown. And
mm,
Debbie, I mean, you know what I went through.
mm-hmm,
And a lot of other people do too. It was sometimes doing the right thing, as I said to you on our first phone conversation. Sometimes doing the right thing can be the most painful thing that you can do. But it's when I said, "No, I can't do this. Is enough. This is I can't do this is stifling such a higher part of myself." And I would never have been able to write the book. I never would have been able to do so many things, which I believe is the main reason why I was put on this planet. And that never would have happened unless I was able to say, "I have to walk away from this."
oh my gosh. Last night when Marsh Engel, and I'm going to talk to her, you guys got to meet, but she said everything that you've gone through your entire life was meant to happen to bring you to where you are in this moment.
Absolutely.
And I was like,
Absolutely.
that's so true, Marsh. You
That
don't want to think that that's true because all, the good things, but then the heartbreaking things, like what was the purpose in that? There is. You wrote books out of that help hundreds of thousands of people. So,
I just gave a small that's a perfect example. I just gave a small workshop a few days ago, right around where I live, and, people were saying to me, "Well, it's easy for you to say you're in control of your life." And I stopped and I hesitated. There were only 5 people in the workshop, but it was really intense. And I looked at them and I said, "I'm only starting to get it."
yeah.
I said, "It I learned everything the hard way. Everything the hard way." I said, "But here's the blessing. If I didn't learn it the hard way, I would never be in a position to talk to people like you to make sure they don't make the mistakes that I made. I had to make all that stuff." So that's the blessing in disguise. And that's what I mean when I say the book and where I am now and all that shit that I went through in my life. It's a blessing because I needed that in order for me to convey to people, I could see what you're doing with your life and you should start shifting in another direction now. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through what I went through. And
Yeah.
that's what makes the teacher in me, and I'm not boasting, I'm just stating a fact. That's what makes the teacher in me palatable for these people because I've been there and
Yeah.
I made the same mistake over and over and over again until I finally got it.
Yeah.
Life is a school and you're always being tested. And your job is to pass the test. And if you don't, that test will be shown to you in many different scenarios until you finally get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of times people have to personalize it. Because if you see someone else making that mistake, you you shove it. You just gotta scuff it off until it actually happens to you,
Yes.
and then you've got to make the mistake. Like, oh yeah, now I get it.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's a good point too, Bruce, because so many times, and I've been there where you're like, well, why didn't they just do this? Or why didn't they? Then if you're put in that position where if you're living it, it hits differently. And then you can think back and say, now that, and we all make, even when the mistakes that other people have made, when you're walking that path, you might make the same dang mistake that other person did just because you got to live it. And
Yep.
sometimes, like Steve, you got to learn it the hard way
Yep.
before it hits right.
But the empowering thing is when you get it, there's nothing more empowering and uplifting. And someone said to me a while ago, "Well, don't you wish you would have figured it out? Don't you ever go back? What if you would have known this 30 years ago?" And I went, "No." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because when you finally get it, you're so in the moment that your brain doesn't even think about going in the past. I should have done this and I should have done that. I stopped shooting on myself
Yeah.
a while ago.
Don't shoot on me.
Don't shut on me
Don't
because
shoot on me. You
when you
shoot
find
on you.
hey, shut on yourself for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying? But once you get it, you don't think about going back because it's like, wow, what an incredible feeling this is. And I'm still learning.
Yeah. Well,
And
you know
that,
what? I think if we aren't still learning, you learn and grow along the way. Can I
it's
get an
Lisa.
amen? I need her mailing address too. I have something for her. Lisa Perna, love you, little girl. No woulda, coulda, shoulda. Don't should on me.
Tell it like it
But
is, sister. Tell it like it is, sister. Can I call you sister?
I love her. But
Oh,
yeah, you literally you get into this space of saying, even the mistakes that you've made, I don't know where I'm going with this, you can help me, but it's like even when you look back and you say, we shouldn't do that, because when we look back and see the mistakes, we got to find where the lesson was
yep.
and then just learn from that and grow forward.
Exactly. And I look back at my mistakes now and I'm going, holy shit, that was so easy. What made it so difficult?
Yeah.
Because it was the mindset that I had back then. We
Yeah.
all create our own mindsets, and and
Mhm.
and it's just a matter. Believe me, folks, life is a school, and you're always being tested. And the best thing that you could say to yourself when you're being tested and life seems to be throwing stuff at you, know that it's a test and yell out and say, oh, okay, bring it on. Bring it on. I know it's a test and I'm
Yeah.
not going to fail this one. I am going to pass. It might take a while, but I'm going to pass this test. Because if you don't know it's a test, you won't know that you have to pass it. In other words, you can't fix something unless you know it's broken.
Mm.
And you can't fix something unless you know what is broken. And that's our job and our responsibility. You have to get to the
Yeah.
core of the problem, whatever that problem may be, personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And yeah. So
Yeah.
Lori said something. Lori Ficken said
It,
something. Renee, good.
yeah. And
Renee, how are you?
Renee, hey, Renee, she said, if you're not growing, you're not leaning, I think learning.
Learning.
If you're not growing, you're not learning. But you're right, Renee. And the other part of this is in very recent days, I have, and I've learned this through you, Steve. I've even Lisa Perna, like I love her crown chats in the morning to start my day. It's nice. But it's like when things are going, it's easy. It's not always easy, but it's easier to have a great day and to be positive when everything seems to be going your way. All right. Then you throw in some things that are frustrations, new business, customer support, new platform, health issues. And then I've had to say to myself, okay, I didn't use the word test, but I said, this is me trying to find the positive
Yep.
in some negative things that are happening.
Yes.
So, and I'm really growing in that way because a few years ago, I would have never stopped in the middle of a crisis or a frustrations and said, no, wait a minute, Debbie, how are you feeling right now? What's the lesson in this? How can I think of the positive in this? And I'm doing that now. So while I
Yeah.
still will react and I still get emotional, I say, no, stop it. Let's look at the situation. What can I find good in this? And try to
Wow.
lean into that.
And I will add on to that, like you had asked me to do, because sometimes finding out what the meaning is might not come about until years later.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, and this is a perfect example. When the pandemic hit, everyone got hit with that in one way or
Yep.
another. All of my bookings in 2020 were canceled.
Yep.
All of my bookings in 2021 are canceled. Not only were they canceled, I thought it was right for me to hand the deposits back. I didn't need to. I didn't have to. In a contract that you don't get it, but I gave it all back. And I kept wondering, man, wow, this is so tough. But here's the blessing. And I only realized this after it happened. My brother Michael, who passed away just almost a year ago.
In December, it'll be a
Yeah,
year.
yes, exactly. I was able to, because he lives 7 minutes from where I live,
Yeah.
I was able to spend those 2 years with him. I was able to go over and watch TV with him almost every night. I was able to take him to the doctor's office with my sister-in-law and him, and sometimes I just took him. I was able to go out to the last lunch with him. I spent quality time with. That was the blessing in disguise, and that was the answer to the questions I was asking when the pandemic hit years before. Why is this happening? You just don't know. Because God, the universe, whatever word you want to use, reveals it in the time it's supposed to be revealed to you. And you just don't ever give up, because the answer is there somewhere. And it might not be until years later. That's the blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Do you have that aha moment one day when you're
yes.
like, oh my gosh,
You know what the aha moment was? Yeah. Yeah. It was the night he passed away, was the last time I was with him.
and you were like, okay, I get for
Yeah.
me, it was,
Yeah. Well, the
I
one
had
thing
this
that,
opportunity,
yes.
even in a pandemic, I
Yep.
was able to spend time with my beloved brother,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have been able to had the pandemic not hit.
But the time that it hit me was the very last time I saw him. And like I said, 6 hours later, he passed away. When I went in, because my brother has a sick sense of humor, and I might have even told you this, but it warrants me saying it again. I sat down next to him. He had a very sick sense of humor. And I walked in the house, I grabbed his hand. It was just me and him. I know, it was just me and him. And I said, so how you doing today, Mike? And he looks at me, goes, well, Steve, I'm dying. How are you doing? right? Because hospice was there waiting for him to
Yeah.
pass on. And I looked at him and I said, well, apparently I'm doing a lot fucking better than you are.
Yes.
And he was hysterical laughing. We both had this belly laugh. So I was so
Yeah.
eternally grateful. Of course, I was sad that he passed away, but I was the one, we had our
Yeah.
last laugh together.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's a gift. And that's what I choose to focus on,
Nice.
you know?
Nice.
So it's all about choices, folks. Your whole life is based on the choices that you make, and for every choice you make, whether it's
Yes.
made consciously or unconsciously, there's always a consequence.
Yes.
Always.
And don't let the not saying no be what throws you off the rails.
Yeah.
For Lisa says, for everything there is a reason.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is coming from a gal who very recently lost her mother, and it would be a time where she could be poo-poo on this show, and there's always a reason for, you don't want to lose people, but she also is a very faithful woman, and so she gets it. But my point is, we're talking about saying no, whether that's I've had enough, or don't let yourself get to the point where you're constantly saying yes. You're afraid to say no at the expense of your mental health, of your physical health, and in honor of yourself. Feeling like you can't tell someone no, like you're almost bullied into always saying yes. No, no. You can say no. You
Wow.
just got to practice it. You got to practice. The first time you say no, I can't. And I got to be honest, I've been that girl where I thought I can do it all. I got this. I'm going to say yes. I'm a people pleaser. I'm not so much anymore. I still want people to be happy, and I want to do as much as I can. But there's a point where you have to say,
Yep.
at what price for me am I going to continue to give of myself and then feel like, I don't really want to do this. So
Yeah.
that's not really fair to the other person either, if you're not really into it
No, I
and you're
agree.
not going to do the job maybe as well as you could.
And
You gotta
sometimes
say
if you're one of those ones that keep saying you're a people pleaser, there will come a point where could come a point where you start resenting.
yeah, the
Yeah.
resentment from that. It's like,
Yeah.
and if you feel like you're constantly going, I have to do this because they asked me, and I've got to go
Yeah.
do this because they asked me. No, that's ugly. Don't.
I
If
think that's
you,
one of the reasons why marriages break up.
yeah,
Because one is always doing for the other that they never wanted to do, and then all of a sudden there's a snap. Somebody snaps, and they resent it.
yeah,
I've been doing this for you for your whole life,
yeah.
and I don't want to do it anymore
Mhm,
because you never had the ability to communicate
mhm.
with that person and say, "Gee, you know what? I think you're pushing me a little too hard here, or you're expecting too much."
Well, and when you brought up children earlier and we discussed that, you hear parents all the time say, "Well, look what all I've done for you. Why are you being like this?" Or what? Well, are these things that you've done the things that you've just taken over and done because you don't want them to do it on their own? I mean,
Yeah.
and also, you know, being able to tell them no, where you don't feel resentment towards your own children with that too.
Yep. Yep.
It works with friendships, everything. If you really are honest with yourself and take a look at your relationships, you said earlier, I think before the show, coworkers. This is a big deal in business and offices, work relationships. If you're always helping somebody out because they can't get their work done or whatever. I mean, all sorts of scenarios, but then you start feeling resentment toward them because they can't get their work. Well, then you're going to have to tell them, I've got my own stuff. You can do this,
Yeah.
work it out, figure it out. So that way you guys can have a good working relationship and you don't feel taken advantage of that.
Yep.
I mean, it can work for all of those scenarios.
Well, that's what a good leader does too.
Yeah.
Make sure your team can be self-sufficient and do what they need to do. Let's read some of the comments. I know Lori said something. Wow, I feel like you're talking to me. She said something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
See, that's the
yeah.
purpose of the show, Lori,
Is
because
TJ her son?
yeah, yeah, yep.
Yep.
He's a good kid too. Well, he's not a kid.
Oh, Andrea, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yep, she had lost herself in her first marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why we do
So
shows like this, folks, because we we all have the same experiences. We just have different stories to tell. and this is when
Yeah.
when I saw that caption there, we are talking to you. We're talking to everyone because we all have gone through stuff like this at some
Yeah.
point, some way, somehow. And if you could relate to it, then that's a big plus.
What you overcome, you get authority over. Boom.
Here she goes
Lisa
again.
Perna.
That's right, sister.
That's right, sissy.
Sister, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
awesome. The core is always deeper than you think. Oh, it's all true statements, girlfriend. All true
Yep.
statements.
Ted Legal said something. Can you pull his up, please? Yeah.
Ted says the good, the bad, and the ugly. It takes ugly times to teach you to get to the bad times. I think to get through the bad times, and it takes bad times to get you through and to understand how to have more good times. Life is a cycle of ups and downs. Learning from your downs gets you more ups. Well,
Okay.
that's go ahead, Steve. But
I got to say something right now because the reason why I wanted this put up, because this gave me chills when I saw this when it first popped up, Ted. My brother Michael and I, he insisted every time I came over, we had to watch the movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
oh,
We must have seen it 12 times. I
well,
am not kidding
this
you.
is a sign that
That's what I'm
Michael's with you
saying.
right now.
When I was talking about him, that message came up. And the last time I made him laugh, and he kept saying to me, "Oh, this is the good part." When I said, "No, Mike, I saw it 12 times with you." That's weird. That is really weird.
Thanks, Ted, for delivering that message. That's
Appreciate
directly
it, Ted.
from Michael.
Yeah.
Andrea said strings attached when you say yes all the time. Yeah, that's a good point. Because here's the other thing. When you're constantly saying yes, why? Are you expecting something in return?
Yep.
Or, and then when you don't get it, then that ticks you off. So I always feel like this. If I do say yes and I'm doing something for someone, I'm not scorekeeping. I don't expect anything in return. I'm just going to do it. Sometimes in the past, I have done things I don't really want to go do, but I do it, but then I forget about it. And just move on because I don't want to be a scorekeeper and I don't want any strings attached. And it's the same. Like it's been very difficult for me in my life to allow people to help me do things. In this new season of my life and my friendships, and I know Sean Benson is one of the girls who have said, Debbie, we want to help you do things. We enjoy that. You do things for us. We do things for you. It's just the way it goes. And I've allowed that. And it's only in my comfort zone that I'll accept help because I don't know what that is. I don't know. I always but I do know, Andrea, to your point, that there are people that want to say yes all the time because they want something in return. I think that's bad news. Don't ever do that. Say no to that. Say no to that.
Say it.
Say it. What does Lisa say? People pleasers need to believe they are loved. The please so they will be accepted. That's probably I agree with that on so many levels. And I think that when I'm a self-proclaimed people pleaser, not so much anymore, but I think I did always feel like, well, I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to like me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? When you learn to really love and like yourself, if someone likes you or not, it doesn't have as much of an effect on you. That's good, Lisa.
Yep. Sometimes you got to say no to people too who always disagree with you. You ever have those people when you're just having a conversation and they just have
You look ticked off. You ever have those people? They just want to argue all the time.
See, yeah, I'm telling you, I had people in my life that used to do that, but they're dead now. So why?
They're dead to
Because
me.
They're
dead to me.
off. I gave them an alternative. They don't listen.
I said, oh, bye-bye. So what? No, I don't understand. So you're saying you when there's people who all they want to do is say no to you.
They they always have to look at either at the negative or they always have to disagree for the sake of disagreeing. And sometimes you have to say, stop.
Yeah.
I'm just having a conversation with you. Why do you always have to push it into another direction? Why are you always disagreeing? And you can tell that they're disagreeing just for the sake of disagreeing. They don't even believe that what they're saying when they're disagreeing. You never met anyone like that?
You said you weren't going to talk about me. I like that on your notes. This is what happened before the show. No, Yes, I do know those people that everything is a debate.
Yeah,
Everything like you say one thing, well,
yeah, yeah.
well, it's just like, can we just not?
And the
I get it.
know-it-alls, the know-it-alls.
Oh yeah,
Like the Cliffs on what was it? Cheers. Cheers, the sitcom that was out a
yeah,
while ago. A lot of people maybe don't remember it, but Cliffy always sat down on the bar, no matter what topic came up, he was an expert on it, and
yeah,
no one ever called him on it because 'cause I'm sitting in there and watching my TV going, shut up."
yeah.
He
The
was an
person
expert
that
on
knows it
everything.
all. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Oh,
They
I know.
think they're not saying no. They just know it all.
They just go like this
Oh,
when he
yes.
talks.
Yes.
There are people like that at Francesco's, the bar that I go to, the restaurant, I
Oh,
said at the bar, and, there are people that, man, that just,
uh-huh.
just, and
So what do
my
you do?
Archie Bunker.
Okay, so if we're
Yeah.
talking about the power of no and the ability to say no with people that bring you to a negative space no matter what, are you saying say no to being around that person, set
No,
the
it's it
boundaries?
it I think there has to come a point where you have to say, "Enough." Enough. We just I just don't want to hear it. I had to tell someone that a couple of nights ago. He was trying to talk to me and he was writing back at me and was trying to get my attention. And I'm eating my meal at the bar and have a very serious conversation with the guy next to me. Right. And he got really upset because I wouldn't acknowledge him. And he said something really sarcastic to me. Okay. Before he left. But before he left, I made sure that I told him what I thought you
Yeah.
know? And I just said to him, I said, well, gee, maybe you didn't see that I was eating my meal. Maybe you didn't know I was having a serious conversation, but you thought I was supposed to stop eating, stop talking to this person who was asking my opinion of a very important situation.
Mhm.
And I'm supposed to turn around by you and talk to you because you demanded my attention. I
Mm.
said, that's when I said, enough. I didn't say enough to him, but that's what I meant. It's enough.
Mhm.
You can't do
How
this.
did he respond to that though?
He was very upset and he walked out.
Oh, so he didn't accept what you said.
No,
He
not at
didn't say,
all.
"Oh gosh, I didn't even think of it like that." He just
Nope.
was mad at you,
He had
angry.
no idea. And his beer was right next to my arm, and I'm trying to grab my fork so I could eat. And come on,
You're making me laugh because I'm visualizing this whole
you know
scenario,
me.
and
You
yeah,
know
I
me.
do. I'm
So the
surprised
guy
you
next to me said, "Gee, Steve, your motivational skills almost went out the window there." And I was like, "God, geez, the meathead won't let me alone there." He he was like Edith Bunker, but only the male
the
version.
male
So
version.
I'd like to talk to you, Steve, if you don't mind.
Well, is this someone that you've known for a long time and it's always the same
Yeah,
deal?
he's almost a regular
Okay,
at the place.
okay.
I'm not gonna mention his name because if he's watching this,
How you
he,
doing?
he's a lot bigger than I am. But then again, who isn't? But
Oh
so
my gosh. Well,
so
you live and
yeah,
you learn, and also being able to say no to people or to say enough can also help other people be better
yeah,
because sometimes people aren't self-aware enough to know
yep.
that they're behaving that way, that they're doing something that's annoying.
No one called him out on it. He's not
Yeah,
just that way with me. He's with everyone. So
yeah,
when I turned around and I'm looking at him and said, "Look at me! I'm eating my food. I'm having a serious conversation, but I'm
yeah,
supposed to acknowledge you."
yeah. So he probably just, needs to be more self-aware, and if you helped encourage him to recognize that, that's a good
So
thing. It's
that's
just difficult to do for some people. That's probably why he's always gotten away with it because people are like, "I don't know how to handle him."
yeah.
I don't know I don't wanna tell him not to act that way, but you kinda did, so hopefully that
I
helps him
almost
be
went,
better.
"Shut up, dare you."
Yes, I'm surprised his beer wasn't elbowed off
Yeah,
if I know
yeah,
you.
I know,
Fuck up.
I know. But hey, that's just an example of enough. No, the word no, it's very empowering.
Yes.
And I don't think I said it. I said it very strong. I don't think I said it with any sarcasm. I just stated a fact. I tried
Mhm.
to point out for him. Here I am. I'm talking. I'm eating. You're back there.
So you
You
didn't
know.
bust out into Archie Bunker or
I
anything, but you
almost
said,
I
"Hey,
almost no,
listen,
actually,
meathead."
it was more of a De Niro thing was coming up.
Oh,
I felt the
no.
I felt the Sicilian in me going, "What is it about this situation that you just don't fucking get? All right? Look at me. Hey, dickhead, look. food, eating, conversation, serious talk, back towards you, your beer's here, you're hovering over me. And by the way,
Okay,
your mouthwash ain't making it.
so
So
can
is that De
we
Niro or
just
is that
say this
Pesci?
dude hit a nerve? What, Bruce?
Is that De Niro or is that Pesci?
That's Pesci. Hey, don't make fun of my impressions, okay? I don't need corrections for. Here's another guy. That's enough.
Here's this guy, Bruce.
Yeah, the guy must have really been upset if he left his beer.
That was pretty much Pesci. So.
Exactly, Bruce. He was like out of there.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man. All
Yeah,
right,
he left.
so say no to bad
Whatever.
behavior.
Yeah, this was a great show. This was a great show, folks.
As it always is, boo. You know that.
And
Lisa, I'm a former people pleaser. I ran the meetings. That's funny.
Yep.
I was in your class, Lisa. Now I know the truth of who I am. If you don't like me, then bye, Felicia. Bye. Bye, Felicia. Bye.
Who's Felicia?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's anybody who we need to say bye to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
I like it. Sometimes love says, I can't be with you because being around you brings out my worst.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh. Well, that's a good one. That's a
That's
good.
a
You
good
keep going, Lee. Scott, you have more sayings
He's
than
on
I
a
do.
roll. No is a complete sentence.
Oh,
No, period.
yep. No period. Exclamation point.
Exclamation. That was yours at the bar the other night.
Yeah.
No. Best statement I ever learned. Yes. Being able to say no, it is empowering too. I think Lisa said that earlier, like being able to say no and then being okay with it. Like, don't say no. See, Laurie says, every show is great. Tell me about those workshops. Ooh.
Okay, Laurie, I
Laurie,
will.
thank you. Yeah, the workshop. But one thing I do want to say is that when you say no, it's like exercise. It's like you're not going to go say no the first time and not be sore afterwards.
Uh-huh.
So as you continue to say no when it's needed, your body will get used to it. Everything will be okay eventually. But what you can't do is say no and then feel really bad and guilt about saying no. That's defeating the purpose. If you're going to say no and then feel bad about it and beat yourself up, then you might as well just do it and be upset about doing it. In my
Actually,
opinion.
that's the hurdle. That's the lesson that needs to be learned.
Yeah.
You have to. That's a great point. But parents, for instance, and we talked about mothers earlier. How sometimes they just no, let me do this for you, or I'll do this for you. And then when they say no, they feel like a part of them is missing, and then the guilt comes in. But they're my children; I should be doing that. But that's when you have to challenge yourself and say, a parent's main job is to make sure that their children are self-reliant and can live out and work out their own problems on their own, because you're not going to be there for them forever.
Yeah.
And that's what they have. That's what you have to work on. That's the lesson a parent has to learn.
And I learned it, poor Dalton, through my first child, because I wanted to do everything for him. Because I loved him. And I was just like, and then I learned very quickly, that's not good for him. It's not good for me. And so Tori always says, and then I came along, you make me do everything. But one thing I do want to say is, not very long ago, my daughter and I were having a conversation about just how they were raised and all of that. And she said, I'll tell you one thing right now. She goes, I always knew when you told me no, that I couldn't go do something, that no meant no. And she said, my friends would say, go ask again. Go. And she goes, no, I know what happens. It would infuriate me if I would tell her no, and then she would beg. I always stuck with it. So if I said, that's one thing I can say, and I've made a lot of mistakes, but I do know that if I made a decision on whether the answer was no, I did stick with that. And I'm not saying I'm stubborn, maybe a little bit. I could always, if we're having a conversation and they sway my decision based on our conversation, that's one thing. But if I've made my decision based on what's best for them or whatever, as a mother, as they were younger, always stuck with that. No means no.
Wow.
No, period, Felicia. Bye.
Well, your kids are doing wonderful with their life. They're doing great things. So you must have been doing something right, you and David. So
David, yeah.
So let's read what Andrea says over there about business, if you don't mind reading that. Deb.
Andrea says, in business, if you allow the poor behavior of an employee, it then becomes acceptable practice to anyone and then creates additional problems.
Yep.
Just say no. If they continue, walk them out.
Yeah.
I
Good
think
point.
that was her way of saying,
Yeah.
bye, Felicia, bye.
That's a beautiful thing. All right, folks. This was a
Oh,
great.
hey, Bam. Oh,
Eric
my gosh.
Bam, the
Eric.
Bam Man.
Eric Bam got married. He got hitched.
He got. What are you talking about? How do you
Good
know
evening. I'm eating banana pudding. It's chunky. You're so gross. Bam. Eric Bam. He got married.
Got a wedding
He
cake?
went,
that? Wow.
going to the
Congratulations, Eric. Miss
Going
you.
to get
Miss you, my friend.
married.
You folks remember Eric?
He
was.
did not say no.
Oh wow. Wait a second.
Eric's now wife did not say no.
Kyle
Kyle's-
was a student of mine.
oh,
One of my become such a precious friend. I was a counselor for her when I was in the high school at West Babylon, and she finally learned the word no without guilt. Good for you,
yes, way to
Kyle.
go, Kyle.
He's
It's
one of
a
my
big
favorite
deal.
people. Love you, Kyle.
Oh, how nice that. Look, you didn't run everybody off. There's people who still follow you. Way to go, Steve Rizzo. Oh,
And
that's
Lynn
nice.
Serrano says,
Lynn.
hello, beautiful friends.
Hello, Lynn. We love you, Lynn. Good to see you here. That's
Eric
awesome.
wants to join the next show.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the boss. What am I?
Hey, man, it's up to you, Eric. You know where I am.
You asked
Anytime you want to
Steve.
be on the show, let us know. Yeah. That'll be cool. Wow. I kept trying to end the show, but all this stuff is happening.
Thank you. Love you all.
Love you
Look,
too.
somebody else loves you.
Yeah,
Eric, man, I'm saying yes and no. Most people are too indecisive. That's awesome.
Well, you know what? Yes is a powerful word too.
Yes is.
Yeah, my friend Jeffrey Gittimer, one of my closest friends, has a wonderful book, The Yes Attitude. You know, just say yes to people when they ask for your help. Just say yes, and try and get it done. I totally disagree with it, but
Yeah, that's an entirely different show. I mean, when you say yes,
what if next
yes,
week we come on and say Bruce will be like, we just said the power of no, and now you people are wanting to talk about say yes to everything.
oh, yes, yep.
You guys can't talk about being indecisive.
I know. What, Bruce?
There's a different reason. When you say no, it's because you're stressed. When you say yes, it's because you're thinking outside the box and, and you're exploring new activities that you would normally say no to. There's Jim Carrey movie called Yes Man, where he has to say yes for like 24 hours or a week or something like that.
That's right. That's right. He had to say yes to everything, which only he can do. He did a brilliant job on that.
Bruce,
but that's right. There's a totally different mindset.
Bruce, our producer, I have a question for him.
Okay.
Do you have a problem telling people no?
No.
There you go.
Easy. No is easier than yes.
Do you?
Of course, I haven't left the house in 2 days, so it's really easy for that.
It's real easy to not have to say yes or no.
Yeah, because the only person I've seen is my wife, so that's the only person I talk to.
So you tell her no?
No, I say yes.
Like,
can you bring in the firewood? Can you bring in all the hoses before the winter comes? Can you help bring up the Christmas ornaments? Those are all yeses.
Oh my gosh, it's almost time for that, guys.
See,
Next week is Thanksgiving.
That's when I learned to say no. Nope, not getting the firewood. Nope, not bringing in.
So is the truth really that you left the marriage? Or now the truth may be coming out. Gina may have said,
or was she as hurt as I thought?
Yes, you're gone.
Or was she saying, thank God he's gone?
Exactly.
God.
Oh, I know. You know what, Lisa? You're right. Bruce is a smart man. You say yes to the honeydew stuff for sure. It's always yes for the wife. Good job. Good job, Bruce.
All right. I don't know how many times I tried to end this show, but you guys just won't shut the hell up.
We don't want
to go. But we love the show and all of our favorite people are on.
I love it that we have the people coming in always.
Thank you for your comments, everyone. Eric, keep in touch with me. Let's get together this week or sometime next week. Let me know when you want to be on the show.
Also, there's another landmark, hallmark, whatever, milestone. We've been doing this show for 2 years.
We've been on for 2 years?
Yes.
Wow.
I haven't been with you for 2 years. How long have I? Almost a year.
you've been
It's
on the
got to
show
be
for
over a
almost
year.
over a year.
Yeah, over a year. Yeah.
Wow. I'm one of the
But the show's been
I'm
on 2
the
years.
OG. Hey, I'm the original. So, but wait, Laurie did say happy Thanksgiving, and I think we should end it with telling everyone to give thanks and gratitude for everything in their lives. And next Thursday, on this day, next
Yep.
week, we'll be having turkey, and
Yep.
hopefully everybody has a hot meal and family or friends to be around. What are you doing, Steve?
I don't know yet. I think I'm going to my sister-in-law's. I'm pretty sure I'll go there. I'm not sure.
I mean, because you have family right there. So
Yeah, my like I said, my brother lived like 7 minutes from me, so my
yeah.
sister-in-law's having people over, and my nephew and niece will be there, and their kids, and I may
And
spend
your
it with my.
grandkids, where are
I may.
they?
That's what I mean. I might spend it with my son and my grandkids too. So I
That'd
don't
be
know.
awesome.
Yep. And that's the day you learn how to say no.
I,
Like,
you know what? I could never say no to my grandkids. Not now. I can't because
You know why? You
that
don't
sounds
want to.
hypocritical. I don't want to. No.
So saying no isn't even an option because you're
Mm-mm.
so in love and want to spend time with them.
You know what I've learned? What works in place of no? Not now.
Oh.
Yeah, it works. But then they go, but when?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, Eric Bam. I'm also going to Steve's sister-in-law's.
Oh, shit.
Me
Well,
too.
now I'm definitely
That's
going to
where
my
I'm
son.
going.
Well,
Now
I
I'm
was in New
definitely
York
going to
3
my
weeks
son.
ago, and Steve flew out to Florida just to avoid
Oh,
me.
I know.
He booked a session keynote just so he can avoid me.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, Bruce is coming to town. I'm gonna go be a keynote down in Florida."
No,
That's not very nice.
I didn't do that. I was already booked.
That's what he says.
Jeez. God.
Truth comes out all over the place when we're on
True.
here, this live show. Bruce,
I-
I'm siding with you on this one. I think he did it on purpose.
Well, that's okay. I'm used to people ganging up on me.
Yeah. You're
It's
used
all
to
right.
the hecklers.
Oh God. Yeah. But that's what I was noted as when I did stand up. I put the hecklers in their place. I was good at that. I was really good at that,
Of
especially if I
course,
was not
you're
in
a
a
New
good mood.
Yorker.
Oof, 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 oof.
You're
Relentless.
good at that.
That was very good. Yeah. Bring Rizzo up. He'll deal with him.
Yep.
So anyway, folks, again, for the 8th time, I think. It was a
Well,
great
next show is
show.
actually we're not going to
And
do
he's
a show at
interrupting
the end of
again. Here we
November.
go. Jesus.
Next show is first week of December. 3 weeks.
Okay, it's the first Thursday of December. That's all, folks.
Okay.
Okay, so
Something.
it's easy
It's
for
gonna
you
be-
to spot.